Hey, today I just want to talk about something I've been wanting to share to y'all for a long time. It's pretty much about the worst jobs I've ever worked at and my worst experiences. Just it's not just exclusive to the factory I currently work in. If all of you are aware, I'm basically working at a factory, and this is not the first factory I've worked at. I worked in another factory when I was working as a graphic technician. So I just want to show you my experience, and hopefully some of you can resonate with me. And yeah, honestly, I really didn't want to make this video, but I feel like it's long overdue. I know I discussed about my workplace and my discontent with how jobs have functioned in our society in many of my videos, but today I just want to share more of a raw perspective on what's been happening. Now, just a disclaimer, I have nothing against anyone I worked with. I feel I can't really blame fully for their actions. This is more due to the result of what people are socially conditioned to behave like, right? For example, I mentioned in one of my previous videos how people have to pretend to get on top, to get advanced in the social ladder, right? And sometimes a lot of things we do, right, are also due to the way we're raised. Like racism, some people subconsciously are just racist, right? So I will be just mentioning a lot of things. So don't take it too personally if you happen to exhibit one of these behaviors in your workplace too. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I have some notes with me just in case if I forget, because this is something I really needed to share with y'all. I feel like, because a lot of you might be curious, like, why am I so depressed? Why am I not happy with my job? Like, shouldn't I be happy I'm making money? Like, sometimes I even work overtime, right? But the truth is that I feel like the work environment matters a lot too. It's not just the pay. I feel like a lot of the misconception is that a lot of people go into jobs like trades because they think they can make a lot of money, but it's also the people you work with matter so much. Sometimes those things are priceless. You can't really justify working at a place that's unsafe, right? So where do I even start? I guess I can start with pretty much where I currently work at and talk about pretty much the other factory I worked at as well. So let's just start from the very beginning. So in the very beginning, during the interview, all right, let's just jump right into the interview. So pretty much during the interview, they asked me questions like, what do I see myself in 5 years? Tell me about yourself, those standard questions. And it's kind of frustrating how we sort of have to almost come up with a script for these answers. It's very superficial. And basically what happened was that my interviewer, the person beside them, told me straight up that I don't think you're the right fit. And I saw they whispered into the interviewer's ears. But the interviewer hired me regardless. I think they were super desperate for workers at the time, so I guess that's why they hired me. And that should have been the first red flag, right? When someone that is interviewing you isn't exactly on your side, they don't think you're the right fit, they're questioning you. I should have just found a different company, but yeah, it is what it is. I desperately needed a job at the time because that time I was working pretty much at a grocery store, and I was pretty much getting paid minimum wage, sadly. So it didn't really help that I didn't really have a backup plan at the time. I sort of had to accept it. So that led to me just taking the role of a factory worker, And first thing I noticed is that in a factory, you're not you're kind of expected to not think at all. You expect to just follow instructions, orders, do things in a very orderly manner. You can't really do things your own way. And if you don't follow the procedures, for example, you have to build a particular product one at a time. You can't stockpile or do it in bulk. And if you do it, you're just gonna get scolded. But that's not even the worst of it, honestly. That's like nothing, to be honest. So let's move on to the social experience in the workplace, right? What goes on? Well, all I can say is that there's racism, and this is not exclusive to just a factory. Plenty of my past friends also experienced racism, even reverse racism. Like one of my past friends is Caucasian. He works with Filipinos who made fun of him and called him a spoiled white rich kid. In my case, they called me a spoiled Chinese kid. I'm being dead serious. I don't know, certain ethnic groups think all Chinese people are rich. Like we're kind of like, I guess they see me as a spoiled kid who like doesn't necessarily have to work at a factory. I just choose to be there, and I don't know, maybe they feel threatened by me or just feel jealous. I've been called like a lot of names, like spoiled Asian kid. They even made like some remarks like ching chong. I'm not even joking, man. Like, I know this might sound like silly and funny, but it's really not. And we're not really allowed to have some small talk. I remember there was one coworker I actually got decently along with, and they told us to just like stop talking. We have to focus. And the issue is that there's double standards. Notice that certain people are small talk all the time, but they never get brought up by management. But apparently I can't do that. Same with drinking water. I can't really drink water during my shift or use the washroom because apparently every minute, second matters in a manufacturing place, right? It's almost like people working Amazon warehouse, right? Where they time how long they take to go to the washroom. And there's tons of micromanaging as well. I'll see like managers coming back constantly, like literally every 30 minutes, asking me what's the progress, when am I gonna get it done? And then there's gonna be a whole pep talk. And this also happened in the previous factory I worked at, where pretty much they told me I didn't have responsibility, and they always they sometimes try to make my position seem better than it is. They're like, oh, I want to be a production worker. I want to be a graphics technician. I'm jealous of you. It's like they kind of want me to almost feel good about my role in a way. It's kind of strange. I don't know. This has happened in many places I've worked at, even Wendy's. So I feel like this is more of maybe how they train the managers, like in the system, where they have to sort of hype their employees or workers up by glorifying their role, make them seem more important than actually are, right? In reality, they're just indispensable tools. They can be replaced anytime. And I noticed there's a lot of lying in workplaces I worked at in the past too. Tons of times I'll get like threats like, hey, if you don't work overtime, I'll take away your paid time off. I'll take away your vacation. It's kind of ridiculous. Too bad I didn't get it in writing. But and just for privacy reasons, I'm not going to mention anyone's name. I'm not attacking personally on them. This is just what I experienced. And yeah, this honestly can apply to pretty much any place that I worked at. So one time I remember joining a pizza party on Fridays. I wasn't particularly hungry. I just go out and grab one slice of pizza, and there was dessert as well, right? Like cupcakes and ice cream. And one of the people in a higher up management came up to me. They were like, hey, you should grab another slice. Take all you want. Take the cake. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And then they just nagged me. They just like brought up literally the cake themselves. They're like, here, have it. Don't be shy. And I already made it very clear. I don't want it. I don't know if this is normal, but I just don't find that particularly amusing or even polite, because Clearly, I didn't feel interested in eating more, and sometimes they just want to force upon food. And particularly, I noticed a lot of times they give unhealthy food to us. We rarely get healthy food like salads. It's usually chips, ice cream, cake, freaking pizza that they give out for free. It's almost like they want us to exhibit, I don't know, like consume unhealthy stuff in a way. Maybe I'm just overthinking, but now regarding safety, Nick, there's a lot to discuss because in my previous factory I worked at, we had to basically use a laser cutter. So sometimes I'll pretty much burn vinyl and it will create this really toxic smell. I think it's like vinyl chloride. It kind of also, it's pretty much chlorine gas, and I breathe it every single day when I worked at that company for a year. And they didn't provide any masks, not even surgical masks. They should at least provide N95 masks. And too bad, I breathed it in every day. I ended up developing bronchitis, and I really lost my voice for like 2 weeks. Really sucked. And I heard it can even cause like liver cancer. So it's really unfortunate how like I feel like a lot of companies I've worked at just don't care about safety. They always say, "Hey, we care so much about safety. You can refuse to work if you feel it's unsafe." But the ironic part is that if we refuse to work, they'll just fire us. So, and I don't like how they just lie to us, right? They're like, "Hey, safety first," but in fact, it's just revenue first. Let's be honest. Companies care about profit and quarterly revenue over our livelihoods, right? They don't care about employee safety. They just don't want to get sued. And yeah, don't even get me started with toxic positivity at work. I've seen so many people at work just like pretend to be on my side. They're like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I always have to respond like, "I'm good." And if I respond I'm bad, they'll act shocked. They're like, "What?" They'll be act super confused. Happened so many times. And there's another thing that I'm just frustrated with. I don't know. All my past coworkers, I feel like, have always treated me more of a kid, like naive. They'll be like, "Hey, do you live with your parents? You look very young." They'll kind of like not take me seriously, and that results in them, you know, taking advantage of me because apparently I seem very easy to control. People see me as pushover. I'm a freaking doormat. People can walk over me easily, tell me to do things, and I'll say yes. And if I say no, they'll probably like give me a prep talk about how I have to respect my elders. It's just frustrating. Another frustrating thing I notice about work in general is that a lot of times I feel like a lot of issues that happen and I get blamed. People in the low level production, low level workers get blamed. The engineers, the upper management never get blamed, even if it's their fault. It's almost like they'll ask us like, "What's the issue? Like, why do we have this issue?" And a lot of times it's out of our control. We're just there to build products. We're not there to freaking, you know, talk to investors, talk to customers, and the supply chain. We have nothing to do with supply chain and the inventory. So it's frustrating when issues get brought up to us that it's out of our control and we get blamed for it. We get an entire prep talk and it's like constant negative feedback loop. Ends up taking our time because we spend so much time trying to resolve the issue, but we literally don't even have the knowledge to do it. And like I said earlier, the job quota matters way more than our physical and mental health. And it's really unfortunate it's like that. And I remember one time like one of my managers gave me sort of a talk on how like I should be grateful I have a job. I should be grateful that I get 30 minutes breaks. Some companies don't even get breaks. And I'm like, what? Like you guys don't eat lunch in some companies? I guess it's true, but I don't know. Is that something you're proud of? Like 30-minute break? And ultimately I just feel like a lot of times I just get treated in an inferior manner. And they view me as someone with a degraded status or subhuman and just view me as a machine. And it's also frustrating a lot of times, like people just keep reminding me to do things like, hey, can you write this down? Can you don't forget this, don't forget that. It gets annoying sometimes, especially when they forget things too. They literally forget the same thing I do. For example, writing how much units we built one day, like sometimes they'll forget. I remind them, they get upset. But in fact, they've been doing it for like months to me. And it's just double standard I hate. Like they don't take me seriously and they never think I'm right. That's another issue. I know, like, even if I'm right, they won't apologize or just like admit they're wrong. They'll always think I'm wrong. They're like, hey, what are you doing? Like, you're building this wrong. But like if they're building something wrong, they won't say anything. Super frustrating. And I hate just how like freaking like everyone at work just pretends to be nice sometimes. It's sometimes some of them don't even hide. And it's just frustrating how like we're also forced to join events like Christmas parties, picnics, freaking pizza parties on Fridays. Like it's apparently supposed to be part of culture building, but I don't really understand the point of that when culture just feels like a social construct in the workplace where we're sort of forced to we're pretty much socially conditioned to act a certain way, to look and appear responsible. And it's a bit ironic how like at work, so many people care about metrics, right, in upper management, but a lot of times people just pretend they're working and they just put in the numbers, right? Like giving a presentation, show how much has improved, but in reality, they probably only work 2 hours a day. I feel like being at work is more about showing people you've done a lot rather than doing a lot. Like you basically want to work smart, not hard. The people that do well at work don't actually work the hardest. They probably barely work. They just show the CEO that they are doing a lot. Like, look at this. Look how many numbers I've accumulated this month, right? But in fact, they probably like made some stuff up. Hopefully some of you guys understand, like for all you white collar workers, like sometimes you just gotta make crap up and make yourself look busier than you are at your desk, right? You could be literally playing Tetris on your computer, but your boss probably thinks you're working very hard at your desk every day. You just need to pump up those numbers up. And yeah, unfortunately in factory there's always a clear hierarchy of what the priorities are. And we're not a priority. We're just ultimately tools to be used and leveraged and exploited in the company. And I feel like we lose a lot of human dignity sometimes. People view us subhuman and it really bogs me down. And I also don't really like the whole like glorification of like overtime pay. Like I don't see how that's even like fair. Like I know some people need it for the extra money, but I feel like that's pretty much modern slavery if you're working over 40 hours a week. Like, do you really want to spend 2/3 of your life working? Like your entire life you just work and then sleep. And then probably like it's gonna take like until you're 50 before you can retire, and by then you're already old, right? And yeah, I'm just like so tired these days after work. Like some of you might not think that like it's that tiring, but if you're working like a physical labor job, your brain's a muscle. My brain usually gets very foggy, get really tired. I usually take a nap when I get home. That's why I don't really make videos as often recently, just because I'm not really getting as much sleep, because I've just been really trying to just like forget about work, but it's really hard sometimes. And I just feel really dehumanized in general. I don't know if this applies to every job, but for me, I just feel like if you're not a manager, if you're not a CEO, you're going to be dehumanized. You're going to be treated as pretty much like a pawn in a chessboard, not having not much power. And Yeah. It's just unfortunate how like society and how work culture is like this. And thanks for understanding anyways. There's a lot more I want to cover, but yeah, that's pretty much the bulk of it. Like I don't really want to discuss like stuff too far back. My first job. I mean, like to be honest though, like during that time, I was like only 18 years old. I remember one of the managers actually came to work every day. She looked straight up depressed. Her aura was like super negative. Like she'll bring the entire place down. I don't know. And then I feel like the way that work just runs is just unhealthy for us. I can see why a lot of Gen Z folks don't want to work 9 to 5. Why people want to create startups now. They don't want to be just a unit, just a freaking machine or tool for a company. But yeah, let me know what you all think. That's pretty much all I really want to discuss. I might I actually probably won't talk more about this. I realize I've been talking a lot about work recently, but hopefully you guys can understand where I'm coming from. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy your rest of your day or night.